The packed hall of the Light of Glory ministry hummed with anticipation. Thousands of bodies pressed together in the sweltering heat, their faces glistening with sweat and hope. The air conditioning struggled against the Lagos humidity and the collective breath of desperate souls seeking miracles. In the front row, a man in a weathered wheelchair waited, his hands trembling on the armrests. Prophetess Joy emerged from behind golden curtains, her white gown flowing like liquid moonlight. The congregation erupted in cheers and ululations. She moved with practiced grace, each step calculated to project divine authority. Her assistant followed, carrying an ornate Bible bound in white leather. Children of God. Her voice boomed through the state-of-the-art sound system. Who is ready for their miracle today? The crowd roared. Hands shot up, waving handkerchiefs, and smartphones recording every moment. The man in the wheelchair gripped his armrest tighter. Joy descended the stairs, her gold-threaded gown catching the stage lights. She approached the wheelchair, laying her perfectly manicured hands on the man's head. "Brother, what afflicts you?" "Paralysis, prophetess," he whispered, his voice carrying through her wireless microphone. 10 years of darkness. Joy closed her eyes, swaying slightly. "I see your suffering, but I also see your faith." She spun to face the congregation. "Do you believe in miracles?" "Yes, prophetess," they thundered back. "Then witness the power of the Most High." She grabbed the man's hand. "Rise and walk." The man struggled to his feet, his legs shaking. The crowd held its breath. Then, step by step, he walked across the stage. Tears streamed down his face as the congregation exploded in praise. 2 hours later, in Joy's private office, the same man lounged on a leather sofa, sipping expensive whiskey. "That was my best performance yet, prophetess. Did you see how many we're filming? It'll be viral by morning." Joy barely glanced up from her laptop, where she tracked the day's donations. "You'll get your usual fee, Samuel, plus a bonus for the tears. Nice touch." "About that?" Samuel set down his glass. "Prices are going up. I want double." Joy's fingers stilled on the keyboard. She looked up slowly, her gentle smile never reaching her eyes. "Brother Samuel, let's remember who owns who. One word from me about your gambling debts to certain people." Samuel's face paled. "I was just joking, prophetess. The usual fee is fine." Lagos never slept. Even at midnight, the streets pulsed with life. Street vendors hawking their wares, yellow Danfo buses weaving through traffic, music spilling from bars and churches alike. The city was a symphony of ambition and desperation, of wealth and grinding poverty existing side by side. Linda Ademola knew both sides intimately. Once she lived in a comfortable apartment in Victoria Island with her husband, James, and their 3 children. Then came James's sudden death in a car accident, and their comfortable life crumbled like a house of cards. Now she lived in a one-room apartment in Ajigunle, where the walls were thin enough to hear neighbors' prayers and arguments. Every morning, Linda rose before dawn to fry akara by the roadside. Her eldest, Tola, helped before school, her small hands expertly shaping the bean paste into balls. 9-year-old twins David and Daniel sold pure water sachets after school. Together, they scraped by, barely. Their neighbor, Mama Blessing, first invited Linda to the Light of Glory ministry. "Prophetess Joy is different," she insisted. "She has real power. Last month, my cousin's shop was failing. After the prophetess prayed, business doubled." Linda was skeptical, but desperation has a way of opening doors that reason would keep shut. That Sunday, she found herself in the megachurch, swept up in the energy of thousands singing praises. The church's interior was a testament to prosperity gospel. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, and the altar gleamed with gold fixtures. High-definition screens ensured even those in the back rows could see every detail of Prophetess Joy's performance. "The Lord has given me a message," Joy declared, pacing the stage in designer heels. "Someone here is struggling with rent. You can't sleep at night worrying about your children's school fees." Linda's heart skipped a beat. "But God says your season of lack is over. All you need is faith shown through action." Joy's assistant wheeled out a golden offering box. Plant your seed of faith. Give sacrificially and watch God multiply your blessing. Linda clutched her last 1,000 naira. It was meant for the children's lunch money, but Joy's words seemed aimed directly at her heart. Give, and it shall be given unto you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. With trembling hands, Linda approached the altar. As she dropped the money in, Joy grabbed her hand. I see great blessing coming to you, sister, but you must remain faithful. The bigger your sacrifice, the bigger your miracle. Linda returned to her seat feeling lighter, hope blooming in her chest. That night, the children ate Gary for dinner, but Linda assured them better days were coming. Weeks turned into months. Linda gave faithfully, first her shopping money, then her savings, finally even borrowing from her market association. Each Sunday, Joy prophesied greater blessings, but Linda's reality grew bleaker. The landlord's ultimatum came on a rainy Tuesday. Pay 6 months back rent by month's end or face eviction. That night, after the twins fell asleep, Tola found her mother crying in their small kitchen. Mummy, why do you give all our money to that church? Tola's voice was soft but carried an edge of accusation. You don't understand, Tola. We have to have faith. Faith won't pay school fees, Tola muttered, but Linda pretended not to hear. The next Sunday, Linda approached Prophetess Joy after service. Please, woman of God, I need help. My children. Sister Linda. Joy's smile was radiant. I was just thinking of you. The Lord shows me you're on the verge of breakthrough. But, she leaned in conspiratorially, there's a spiritual attack blocking your blessing. For just 50,000 naira, I can break it through special prayers. Linda's heart sank. But, prophetess, I don't have. Satan wants you to doubt. Will you let him win? Joy's voice hardened slightly. This is a test of faith. That evening, Linda visited the neighborhood loan shark. Joy's real name was Janet Alayinka, daughter of a poor preacher in Ibadan. She'd learned early that faith was profitable, not for believers, but for those who exploited belief. Her father died in poverty, still waiting for his heavenly reward. Joy vowed never to follow his path. In her Lekki mansion, Joy surveyed her empire. The house itself cost more than most of her followers would earn in several lifetimes. Italian marble floors gleamed beneath crystal chandeliers. A pool shimmered in the manicured garden where 3 luxury cars sat in the garage. Her phone buzzed, another message from Mother Spiritual. Joy's hand trembled as she read it. Time grows short. The spirits are impatient. 5 years ago, when Joy was still Janet, she'd sought out Mother Spiritual in her shrine deep in the Osun forest. The old woman had promised power beyond imagination, influence over masses, and wealth beyond measure. The price seemed simple then, her ability to bear children. Now at 35, the bargain's weight pressed heavily. Her followers believed her celibate, devoted only to God. In reality, 3 secret abortions had fulfilled her blood debt to the spirits, but they demanded more. A knock interrupted her thoughts. Her assistant, Sister Peace, entered with the day's accounts. Prophetess, today's harvest was good. Over 5 million from the first service alone. Joy nodded absently, her mind on Mother Spiritual's warning. What about the new healing team? Are they ready? Peace shifted uncomfortably. About that, Brother Samuel is demanding more money. He says he has proof of our arrangements. Joy's face hardened. Handle it. You know what to do. Peace nodded and left. They both knew what handling it meant. It wouldn't be the first time an accomplice had met with an unfortunate accident. Tunde Adebayo hadn't always been a journalist. Once he'd been a believer, not just in God, but in men and women who claimed to speak for God. His younger sister's death changed that. She'd refused medical treatment, trusting instead in a prophet's holy water. By the time the family overrode her faith, the cancer had spread too far. Now, he investigated religious charlatans, exposing their schemes in his weekly column. The Light of Glory ministry had been on his radar for months. The numbers didn't add up. Too much wealth, too little accountability. He'd stationed himself outside the church, photographing visitors. The parade of luxury cars dropping off miracle recipients told its own story. But he needed more. One evening, he followed Brother Samuel to a local bar. 5 beers in, the man's tongue loosened. "You think those healings are real?" Samuel laughed bitterly. "I've played every role. Cancer patient, blind man, cripple. The prophetess has a whole team of us." Tunde recorded everything, his heart pounding. But as he left the bar, a shadow detached itself from the wall. Sister P stepped into his path, flanked by 2 muscular ushers. "Brother Tunde," she smiled. "The prophetess would like a word." In Joy's office, Tun sat calmly despite the armed ushers flanking him. The prophetess studied him from behind her massive desk, her white outfit almost glowing in the dim light. "You've been asking dangerous questions, Brother Tunde." Her voice was silk over steel, questions that could shake people's faith. "Is that what you want?" "I want the truth," Tun replied. "About the fake healings, the money laundering, the mysterious deaths of those who oppose you." Joy laughed, but her eyes remained cold. "Truth? In Lagos? We both know truth is what people choose to believe." She opened a drawer, withdrew a thick envelope. "Your paper salary can't be much. Why not write about something else? Like your deal with Mother Spiritual?" Tunde watched Joy's face pale. "Yes, I know about that too." The prophetess stood slowly. "Sister Peace, our brother needs time to reconsider his choices. Show him our prayer room." As the ushers grabbed him, Tunde pressed send on his phone. His evidence was already backing up to the cloud. Linda returned home from another church service to find her children hadn't eaten all day. The twins were asleep, but Tola sat waiting. "Mummy, Uncle James's insurance money, did you give it to the church?" Linda couldn't meet her daughter's eyes. The insurance money had been their last safety net, meant for the children's education. Joy had convinced her to sow it as a seed of faith. "You don't understand, Tola. The prophetess says..." "The prophetess is a liar." Tola's voice cracked. "David's teacher says he'll be expelled next week if we don't pay his fees. Daniel's malaria is getting worse because we can't buy medicine. And you're still giving her money?" Before Linda could respond, someone pounded on their door. It was Mama Blessing, eyes wide with fear. "Linda, they're saying on social media, that journalist, the one who was investigating the prophetess, they found his body in the lagoon." That night, as Lagos buzzed with rumors about Tun's death, Joy knelt before Mother Spiritual in her shrine. Candles cast twisted shadows on walls decorated with bones and fetishes. "The spirits are angry," Mother Spiritual intoned. "You've spilled innocent blood. The price has doubled." "I didn't mean for him to die," Joy whispered. "The ushers went too far. Blood is blood. The spirits care not for intent." The old woman through cowrie shells read their pattern. "Your power wanes. Soon, all you've built will crumble unless..." "Unless what?" "Sacrifice one truly pure soul, a child of light." Mother Spiritual's eyes gleamed. "Your most faithful follower has 3. Joy's heart raced as she understood. "Linda's children? Choose one. The twins share a soul, it must be the girl. Bring her at the next moon's dark face." Linda sat in her usual place that Sunday, but something had changed. Perhaps it was grief over Tun's death or her children's desperate situation. When Joy began her usual performance, Linda saw it with new eyes. The miracles seemed obviously staged. The prophecies were vague enough to fit anyone. And the constant demands for money. Joy pointed at the crowd. "Someone here doubts. The Lord shows me a widow, poisoning her children's minds against his chosen prophet." Linda felt eyes turn to her. She stood slowly. "Yes, sister." Joy's voice boomed. "Come forward. Let God remove the spirit of doubt." Instead, Linda walked toward the exit. Behind her, Joy's voice took on an edge of panic. "Anyone who leaves during service invites a curse. Sister Linda, think of your children." Linda stopped, turned. "Yes, prophetess. I am thinking of my children." She walked out, Joy's threats fading behind her. Outside, the Lagos sun seemed brighter somehow. That evening, Linda found Tola's bed empty. A note lay on the pillow. Gone to evening service. Prophetess Joy said I'm chosen for special prayers. Cold fear gripped Linda's heart. She ran to the church, but the gates were locked. Around back, she heard drums from the nearby forest, where Mother Spiritual was said to dwell. Linda had grown up in a village. She recognized the rhythm of certain ceremonies, the ones no one spoke of in daylight. Without thinking, she ran toward the sound. In a forest clearing, Joy stood over Tola, who lay unconscious on a stone altar. Mother Spiritual chanted, raising a ceremonial knife. Stop! Linda's scream pierced the night. Joy spun, her white garments now stained with ritual chalk and animal blood. You're too late, Linda. Some sacrifices are necessary. Not my daughter. Linda stepped forward. You want a pure soul? Take mine. Mother Spiritual's chanting stopped. The mother sacrifice, yes, more powerful. Joy hesitated. Will it be enough? Fool. The old woman's voice changed, deepening. There was never enough. Your soul was mine the moment you first came here. The knife flashed, but Linda had already thrown herself forward, knocking both Joy and Mother Spiritual away from Tola. In the chaos, the ritual fire caught Joy's robes. The prophetess screamed as flames engulfed her. Mother Spiritual reached for her, then stopped, laughing. Her form shifted, revealing something ancient and terrible before vanishing into the shadows. The newspapers called it a tragic accident, a ritual gone wrong, a church burned, a charlatan exposed. Joy survived, but her beauty was gone, along with her power to deceive. Linda started a support group for survivors of religious trauma. They met in her new shop, bought with funds recovered from the church's accounts after the scandal broke. Each week, former members gathered to share their stories and heal together. Tun Tun died in the lagoon after all. His death had been another of Joy's deceptions, meant to frighten others into silence. He'd managed to escape the church's prayer room and went into hiding, working with police to build a case against the organization. When the story finally broke, it shook Lagos's religious community to its core. The evidence was undeniable. Videos of staged miracles, financial records showing millions laundered through offshore accounts, testimonies from former actors and staff members. Most disturbing were the connections to dark rituals and suspicious deaths. Joy was arrested trying to flee the country. Her trial became a sensation, with former followers packing the courthouse daily. Some still defended her, claiming persecution of a woman of God. Others came forward with more stories of exploitation and abuse. Tola thrived in her new school, the fees paid with recovered funds. The twins' health improved once they could afford proper medical care. Linda's Accra business expanded into a small restaurant, famous for both its food and the healing conversations that happened within its walls. One evening, as Linda closed up shop, a familiar figure appeared, Sister Peace, Joy's former assistant. I was wrong, Peace said simply. All those years, helping her deceive people, I told myself it was for the greater good. Linda studied the woman who had once threatened her family. We all believed what we needed to believe. The police want me to testify against her. And will you? Peace nodded slowly. It's time for truth. Months later, Linda noticed a new church rising in another part of Lagos. Its billboards promised miracles and prosperity, its prophet claiming direct connection to heaven. At first, she felt angry. Had nothing changed? Then she saw a young woman studying the billboard, hope and desperation in her eyes, just as Linda had once looked at Joy's church. Linda approached her. Excuse me, sister. Would you join me for some Accra? I have a story you might want to hear. Lagos continued its eternal dance of hope and hustle. New prophets rose where old ones fell, each promising easier paths to prosperity. But something had shifted. People asked more questions. They demanded more accountability. In her support group, Linda often reflected on faith itself, not the commercialized version sold by false prophets, but the quiet strength that had helped her survive. Real faith, she would say, doesn't empty your pockets. It fills your heart. Tun wrote a book about the scandal, dedicating it to all who dared to question. It became required reading in journalism schools across Nigeria. The twins grew into thoughtful young men, while Tola decided to study law, determined to protect others from exploitation. Their home was modest but filled with love and enough food on the table. Real miracles, Linda thought, born not of supernatural claims, but of honest work and community support. Joy served her sentence in Kirikiri prison, her scarred face a constant reminder of that night in the forest. Some said she had found genuine redemption, leading prison Bible studies and counseling other inmates. Others whispered that she still practiced darker arts in her cell at midnight. Mother Spiritual was never found, though sometimes on dark nights in certain parts of Lagos, people claimed to see an old woman in black, watching new churches rise with a knowing smile. Linda kept the newspaper clipping about Joy's arrest framed in her shop, not as a celebration of anyone's downfall, but as a reminder. Faith and truth, like light and shadow, reveal each other's true nature. And in the endless streams of people flowing through Lagos' streets, hope remained as constant as the sun, not in easy miracles or instant prosperity, but in the quiet strength of those who dared to seek truth, even when truth came at a price.